today we're going to explore empires in America, the French and Indian War, 1754 to 62. It's a solitaire game. It's a game designed by Joseph Miranda. It was originally put out by Victory Point Games. This is the original Victory Point Games version. And Victory Point Games was not known for its high production quality. They, I mean, they weren't bad, and we'll look at the bits here, but they were not on par with, you know, the production value of your GMTs and Compasses, and or even, you know, back in the day, the Avalon Hill and SPIs for that matter. But they had good games, and they came up with the States of Siege system, and this is part of that system, or at least has some basis in that system. In fact, it says the States of Siege number 3. So the States of Siege system is kind of a tower defense type of system where there's a center point and you're trying to defend that center point, and there there's either lanes or tracks or a host of avenues that are attacking you or approaching, and if any of those lanes or tracks or avenues get to the center point, you lose the game. And that's the basic States of Siege, and it's basically done with a deck of cards where you flip over a card and it will tell you which track moves or what happens on the track, or it might have some other stuff going on, but it's in its basic sense, it moves something along those along those tracks, and you're having to fight them back. And sometimes there's like a number on that unit that you have to roll over or equal or over, depends on the version, to push it back or keep it at bay. Sometimes in some of the States of Siege games, you can put forces or units on the track to advance out and attack them. And there's several iterations of this. And Worthington has now taken over several of them. I don't know if they've acquired all of the States of Siege, but I know they've acquired several of them and have been doing versions of them in a much higher quality component offering. That's one of the things Worthington does very well is put out relatively high quality components and games. So you're getting an upgrade from that. I mean, this game here was redone. I think was upgraded and was a better version. I didn't get that one. I have this one, and I just recently acquired this one. This goes into my bargain playlist. Check out my playlist for bargains. I found this at my friendly local gaming store, and it was in the bargain bin. And I, worked with the owner and ended up getting it for less than what even was the sticker on it. So this was like only about $10 or something. And it's a classic game, and it, of course, definitely out of print. And the secondary version, I think, is out of print. I don't know if Worthington has picked up this one. Maybe they have. They'll do a fine job with it. But so, look in the bargain bins. That's my advice to you. And this not only has the original game, but it also has the expansion that comes along. That there was an expansion that came out, and Victory Point Games was apt to do that, and so they had a little expansion kit that had additional rules, and it had some additional cards that came with it that you can put into the deck, and the titles are underlined so you can tell what's different. But it's just something you can add right into the deck, and had some additional rules, and not a whole lot of rules, right? It was just basically, 3 columns, 2 pages of rules. The original rules themselves were the same. They're 3 columns. There was some color in there. I was never a big fan of Victory Point Games rules. They were fine. Everything was there, but I don't know, I just didn't like the organization, and they had this tendency to highlight stuff. That's not me highlighting that, or the previous owner of this highlighting that. And this one's not as bad as some. Some would really go to town, and you would have all these different colors in there, and it was hard to look at. I mean, it was just a distraction on the eye. And everything is logical and in there, but it's I don't know. I've never been a fan of their rules. And I just never liked the layout of it. It was just kind of hard for me to digest sometimes. I mean, really good games. I bought a lot of their games over the years, and a lot of them in the original format. But anyway, I just never was a super fan of the rule sets. This game here, again, is States of Siege, and it's dealing with the French Indian War. What a States of Siege game does, and this is not set. I started setting up, and I was playing a game, then I was just kind of goofing around with it. So this is not an after-action report or anything. This is just some tokens on the map, so you know where we're, so I can talk about them. But you got this center stage here. You've got Montreal. You also have some fortresses that are on the map, and those have special abilities. They stop, a track from advancing. You also can put forts. You can build forts, use action points to build forts, or there's some cards that allow you to build forts as well. But so you have all these different tracks: the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, Champlain, Upper Maine, St. Lawrence, and those are the different tracks that are trying to advance onto Montreal. And you're trying to keep them out of Montreal till you get through this deck here. And the deck, this is a little bit different from a typical States of Siege. It doesn't say, oh, that track advances or what have you. In fact, there's no numbers on these armies units that are advancing on this track. It's very much kind of a war game. I mean, the States of Siege is generally a war game, but abstract as it may be. But this is very much kind of a war game. You need to have a leader in order to advance on these tracks. And so the first phase is you're going to draw cards out of this deck. And this is the quality. I mean, they're fine cards. At least they're not perfed. Like some of the old Avalon Hill games, you had the old perf cards. You people that are my years or in my age category, you will remember some of those perf games. But they're fine cards. They're decent quality, decent print, very legible reading, and sometimes there's a lot of text on there. But and sometimes there's some history. That's one thing I really like about States of Siege games is a lot of times they put a lot of history on there. In fact, Alan Emmerich, who was the owner, I guess, of Victory Point Games, or one of the big head honchos, Alan Emmerich, I actually talked to him about doing a States of Siege game for the Crusades. At that time, I had two little kids, very, very little at that point. I just didn't have the time to put it together. But I had an idea of doing a States of Siege of, Jerusalem, and have the different crusades go on different tracks. So it's not just a one crusade. You're doing the whole kind of life of the crusades, all kind of converging on Jerusalem. And you'd have the cards that tell you what track advance, and you'd have some history on it. And I started even writing history on the text. Anyway, I digress. I never got around to that. I do a lot of that. Ideas and failed to execute, especially when it comes to game design. But so, you're going to have the phase where you're going to draw these cards, and these might be leaders. They might be leaders for the British, and then you're going to roll dice to see where they're going to be placed. Like 8, they're going to go to Champagne. So then, they're going to go down here, and then you're going to mark them what their reputation is. They all start off at mediocre or mediocrity. And then you're going to tell me battalion. They always start off with their maximum battalions, and that's basically their strength level. And when they win battles, they go up in reputation. When you lose battles, you go down in reputation. That's for every leader that's in a battle. and those reputation tracks have effect on other things. Again, that's one of the problems with the rules. You think there would just be a section saying here's how the reputation affects everything in the game. No, you've got to go through the sections and figure out where those effects are at. Anyway, I'm on a rant. Let me go. But then you have the effectiveness of the leader here too, as well. You have the leader rating here. So you got the strength, you've got the rating, and then you've got the reputation. So quite a few factors for a leader, and it's variable. It goes up and down. So a neat little idea there. And then after you draw cards, and then some of these cards are actually good for you, like the Wyandotte Indians. You can have that in your hand, and so that allows you to, they have a strength value, so you can add them to a battle, and they might have some other special abilities as well. So there's good and bad cards that are going to be in this deck, and you go through the blues first, and then once you get to the I gotta head out here, the French, the 7 Years War, 7 Years War erupts. Once you get to that card, then these are going to come into play. These are the reds, and there's a lot more of them, and they're a little bit trickier, right? This is the British getting into the fight, so to speak. So you're going to have a lot more to deal with. And you basically have to get through this draw pile, whatever's in the draw pile, before someone gets into Montreal. So you have a phase where you pull out some many cards, and you start with 3, but after the 7 Years War erupts, then you're drawing 4, so you're getting more cards out, so you're getting a chance to get more leaders, but you're giving them a chance to get more leaders. Then you have the British phase. The British are going to advance on the tracks where they have leaders. So like here they have a leader, and here they have a leader, and they're going to advance based on their rating. So this guy will advance 1. He'll have to stop at Louisburg because there's a fort there. This guy will advance 2 because he's got a 2 rating, and he'll have to stop at Ticonderoga because there's a fort there. And then this one would advance 1, and so would go up to Fort Duquesne. So that's how the game goes. That's how they advance. They have to have a leader to advance. And then you have action points. You're going to have the action points based on your leaders that are on the board or that are available. And you'll get a certain amount of action points to do battles, to do leader battles, or to play cards, or you might build some forts because forts kind of stop them. You can build trading posts, and trading posts help you get reinforcements back or replenish your forces. And so you've got a lot of decisions on how to use your action points, and you're limited on how many action points you have, right? Because it's based on how many leaders that you get out there and get out of this deck here. Don't use this explanation or this video to learn how to play the game. This is an overview. But that's generally the game, is the British advancing on these tracks in a states of siege type manner, and you trying to beat them back. Again, as you get victories, your reputation's going to go up and give you some benefits. As you take losses or hits, and hits are like a 5 and a 6 on a die, and the number of dice you get to roll is based on your strength, or if you add any, like auxiliary forces or extra forces that you're going to get out of this deck, you add them into the mix. A lot of times they're one-time shots. They leave after they're used, but a lot of times other times they have special abilities and tells you how to use them or what they do or if they hang around or not. So you're trying to fight back these tracks and keep everybody out of Montreal to get through this deck. It's a built-in timer in the deck, and that's a nice thing that I like about States of Siege. They don't tend to outstay their welcome because you have a limited deck here. And this one's kind of a big deck once you add those in, and then you can also have all these these expansion cards that go in here too. They added a few more red, well, a lot more red, and a few more blue. And then there's some white ones you start out with. The white cards are like the start cards. It gives you a starting leader and some cards that you have. It gives them a British starting leader, you a starting leader, and then a couple of cards to to use. But then you're into the blue deck, and which is both has cards for both sides, and then you have the red deck, which gets added after the 7 Years' War. So I mean, there's could be quite a few cards in there. So you can make the game tough by adding the expansion. Is going to make the game a little bit tougher because you got more cards that you have to wade through. Plus, it has some optional rules in there as well. But that's the game at a high level. You got your sequence of play. You draw cards. You have the British phase. You have the French phase. Where you can rally and recall leaders. You can gain action points. You spend action points, and you have housekeeping. Clean up stuff that's on the board, and then it's keep going until you get through this deck. And you're drawing quite a few cards out of this deck. 3, and after the 7 years were 4. So you are going through this deck pretty quick, but if they get a lot of leaders out, they're going to be advancing on those tracks pretty quick too. So it's really a balancing act. And so it really, truly, has the feel of a States of Siege game and how it does it, but it does it in a very different way. And as I said, I've got a lot of the States of Siege, and I haven't done videos on all of them, but I did when COVID hit, the first year of COVID, I broke out all my Victory Point games and most of my States of Siege, and I went through every single one of them. I just did a playthrough, and I put up session reports on Board Game Geek, and did a whole list of those States of Siege games that I played through. So if you're interested in that, check out Board Game Geek, and it'll be under NAP16. That's my handle there. But I played through everything I had on States of Siege, and actually went out and got some more while I was in the middle of that. But these are hard to find. It's hard to get these States of Siege games now. I mean, you in this format, you can get them. As I said, Worthington's redoing some of them, and some of the more popular ones. But I don't know if they're doing this one. Maybe they are, but I don't know. But this was a nice little game that tackled the French and Indian War in a little different perspective. I mean, you're taking it solely from the perspective of the French, and you've got a period where you're trying to build up some of your forces, but then once the British come in, they come in hard, and you've got in history the French lost this battle, right, or lost this war, or this phase of the 7 Years' War, but this game reflects that you're going to have an uphill battle, and you're struggling against those forces closing in on those different tracks, but you still got a chance. I mean, you just got to get through that deck. So it has a different perspective and a different feel for this conflict that I like. I like the States of Siege because, again, they don't take forever. They don't last that long to play. They're solo. You can do them at your own time, and whatever you have available, you can do it at your own pace. The rules aren't especially complicated. I mean, even this format, even though I don't really like that format that much, but it's still digestible, right? You can still get through it and understand it. Once you do a few rounds, you're going to understand it. I mean, there's not a ton of action stuff you can do. Here's your action point list. 1 to play an action card, right? That's one of these cards that's in your hand. You can play it onto your tableau. 1 to initiate attack, 1 to take a replacement, 1 and that's when you're trying to build up your strength points again, 1 to build a fort or trade, or 2 to build a fort or trading port. That's it, So you're mainly going to be doing attacks. You're going to be trying to beat back people, but you're going to be doing some actions too to get some additional forces to bear, or to bring some different forces to your support. So anyway, that's it. The pieces are fine. This map is fine. I like the look at the map, but it's just a paper map. That was Victory Point Games. I got a little stain here. I got blood on the Ohio, right? Blood in the Ohio Valley here. Somebody had a stain or something here. I don't think it was blood, but it bled through the other side. But this is what you get. It's a used game. It was in the bargain bin, and so this is what you get, and it was fine. And one of the things I like about my friendly local gaming store, which is different than buying stuff online. I know the guy, and he's an old-time war gamer, and he's fine with me inventorying the stuff. So I generally go through everything and I inventory it. I buy a lot of used games there, and I'll go through it and I'll kind of do my own inventory, and that's one reason why sometimes I do these videos. I do like unboxing videos because you know, it's good to have a video where, you know, oh, that's everything that's supposed to be in that game. I use those sometimes when I'm buying used games to say, well, is everything in there? Yeah, everything's in there. That's good. You know, I'm going to buy that. And as I said, this was like, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks at max, something like that. This to me was a steal, given that you can't find this anymore. So the paper map, the cards are fine. Good. I mean, the cards are fine. They're not great. I mean, they're not like card quality that you would see from like playing cards or some of the other game companies now, but they're fine. And the counters are, you know, a little thin, but they're fine too. And they got some nibs on there. I probably won't, you know, clip those, but again, it's some of the victory points earlier games were just a level above print and play. This, by the time this came out, this was definitely a little bit better than that, but still probably not to the quality that you see of some of the big houses, but maybe some of the smaller houses nowadays as far as publishers. So anyway, that's what I had for you today. I thought you would find this interesting as I'm continuing on. I'm in the flintlock and bayonet age of the 1700s, the mid 1700s, kind of progressing this week. Started off in the ancients, went through musket and pike, now in flintlock and bayonet, and who knows where I'm going to be tomorrow. Anyway, that's what I have for you all. Thank you so much for stopping by. Like to know what you think about this game particularly, but the States of Siege system in general, victory point games, or anything that's on your mind. Take care. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.